Representative McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to the members of the committee. Good afternoon to the people present. Good afternoon to those that are watching via television or the internet. We have seen this matter coming before us steadily now for the last few years. And we have seen the efforts of those who claim to be pro-life advocate so strongly that this bill is so necessary to protect the lives of the unborn. But what I see every day in my district of 35% poverty level, a place filled with children, that this body consistently and regularly ignores. There are people on this committee who serve in districts that have high schools that were built with a budget of $75 million. And I want you all to know that the children that I have to look at every day, they would absolutely die just to have maybe 5 million of that. They go to school, lots of them, because I run into some of them and I see them and they say, I want to be a lawyer like you, Attorney McKnight. And while I try to encourage that for them, I know that deep in my heart that likely won't come true because we don't want to do anything for them. Well, what do you mean, Representative McKnight? You don't want to do anything for them. You know how many AP teachers I have in my school district? AP certified, advanced placement certified. You know how many we have? One. I thought we had none, but goodness gracious, the Lord saw fit to bring manna from heaven and give us one. So what that means is, for any child in my district that shows academic promise and can go to college, chances are the best education they've received is a general studies education. But we care so much about life. We'll do everything for them in the womb, but once they get here, it's survival of the fittest. Where is the equity in that? Do you know, and I'll share something with you. My child doesn't go to school in Williamsburg County Schools. My wife and I are divorced. And so I made a choice when we got divorced that, I said, I want my child with me. But the voice in my head said, if you let Claire go to school in Williamsburg County, you'll be doing her a disservice. So I had to suck that up because every good parent, daddy or mama, does what? They put the child first, and their goal is to give them the best they can so that they can have better than what their parents did. Now, I want to tell you how markedly different life is for me. When I went to school at Kingstree Senior High, we had AP English, we had AP Math, we even had an AP Latin class. And so do you see the precipitous decline that we have experienced? The things that it's heartbreaking for me, and I'll share this with you even more. It's heartbreaking because it almost brings me to tears. It's heartbreaking for me 2 Halloweens ago when I had a kid come to my house. And he turned around and started yelling to his mom and said, Mama, he's got stairs in his house. And that's a regular occurrence because the kids where I live know that they come over to my neighborhood because we give big candy. Because where they live, most people can't give candy. And most of them don't get a chance to eat unless they eat at school. But you want to sit here and say that you're concerned about the lives of children. But anytime we mention education in this body, it is shoved to the back of the room. You want me to believe that you care about children when we had a lawsuit in this state for 30 years and finally won and said we don't do right by the children on the corridor of shame, and you packed the Supreme Court with people who would set aside that decision. That's what you want me to believe here today, that you care about children. You don't. You care about your simple, small victories so you can go home and rub yourselves on the back and feel good about yourselves. Let me tell you something. The United States Supreme Court will not overturn Roe v. Wade. Why? Because it's the red meat that you all drag out every year to get the masses out so you can say, come on, we can change it. It's sort of like sharecropping. You had the farmer every year. He'd come at the end of the year to bring the crop, and then he sits there with the owner of the farm, and he says, you came just that close, so try harder next year. So with your electoral sharecropping, you continue to promise the masses that if we just try harder, we're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. You're not, because that is the one carrot that you can dangle to the masses and bring them out. And if you take that away, trickle-down economics doesn't work. We've been trickling for 40 years since Ronald Reagan first won, and the money ain't arrived yet. It's not coming. You're not fooling anyone. Now, members of this committee asked Mr. Bamberg, when he showed the transvaginal device, show me in the bill where that's required. It's not necessarily required, but there are certain instances where you have women of different sizes that you have to use that device. See, what you want everybody to think is what everybody thinks about ultrasound. What I thought about ultrasound when my wife had to go get an ultrasound for Claire, when we were excited, when we got the 4D ultrasound, the one that showed all of her facial features and the way she was in the womb, and the way that I like to look at that picture while Claire's asleep, because she looks exactly the same way now as she does then. But that is not the rosy picture that is painted and depicted under this bill. You're going to sit here and insist that a woman who's had to make the harshest decision that we don't have any right interfering with, we're going to sit there and violate her and humiliate her and embarrass her into doing what it is you all think she should do with a child that once we get here, we don't care about. But I tell you what you're good at. You're good at locking up parents who fail to meet your parental model. The minute the kid is hungry and they show up at the emergency room, here come the police. The minute the child shows up at the emergency room and it looks like they've been beat up, here come the police. And you won't even fund DSS to help take care of the children. Because remember, when we got here in 2014, the Richland County DSS office was still using MS-DOS as a programming software for their computers. So don't tell me about life. I want you to come see what life is. Come see my kids that run a drop cord from house to house so they can have heat in January. But you don't care nothing about them. And yeah, there's no more welfare to get, and the mamas that do work have to get on the beach bus, and they get on it at 4:30 in the morning just to ride to Myrtle Beach and have to leave at 3 so they can get back at 6, and they've been working so hard cleaning up that they don't have time to cook or do homework. So don't talk to me about life. If you want to do this, show me what you're going to do to improve the life and welfare of poor folk here in South Carolina. Because if you ride down 95, starting at Dillon, and you get to Hardyville, life's no crystal stair. They don't get a chance to go to a decent school. I say a decent school, one where the roof doesn't leak. Or come to my high school when we couldn't use the high school during a hurricane evacuation. Why? Because we had a rat infestation. But you don't care about those folks. They don't go to Hammond. They don't go to St. John Newman with my daughter. To a lot of people, they don't matter. Well, to me, they matter because I see them. I look at them. And it's heartbreaking for me to know that during the COVID virus, I'm riding up in my nice new pickup and I'm going in my office and I look over at the library and there's a little boy on the stoop of the library. Why? Because that's the only way he could get Wi-Fi to do his schoolwork. The only way. There's a chasm in this state between the haves and the have-nots. Bob Marley is famous for saying some people have hopes and dreams. Some people have ways and means. We have demonstrated that we don't care. We just want our little victory. And I love the fact that so many people claim that life is sacrosanct, and they always love to tell me what Jesus would do. Jesus would not let children go to school with rats. Jesus would not fix it so that you have kids who go to school that's built with $75 million and 20 miles down the road or so, they barely got books. Jesus wouldn't do that, but South Carolina sure would, and it does. Lastly, I love how people in this body don't like lawyers. There's always a push for tort reform. Them lawyers are making too much money. Well, guess what? When you pass this legislation, you're going to make a whole bunch of lawyers rich because you're going to have to pay someone to go all the way to the Supreme Court to fight it. So congratulations, you're buying some new yachts. Congratulations, you've bought new Porsches. Congratulations, you've built mansions. Congratulations, you've made some lawyers rich. My only regret is I don't do con law. So you could make me rich. Stop with the hypocrisy. You cannot fix what you will not face, and those little kids that you ignore grow up to be big people that you can't ignore because you have to lock them up because they're going in people's houses because they got to rob to eat. It only gets worse. It's like a cancer. You got to fix it early or it metastasizes and it makes everything sick. So, I want to know if you're comfortable, and I'll know soon by the roll call in this vote, if you're comfortable with setting up a standard that says we don't care about violating a woman's body, shaming her, making her feel, embarrassing her, traumatizing her, scarring her by making her have to use a device like that. Look at the pictures. Could you put it up for me, please, Ms. Dean? Scroll down for me to the picture on that first page, please. Oh, yes, thank you. If you'd scroll up, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see that there's a picture that depicts what that doctor has to do in these instances where you're asking. Because I know you all want to think it's some nice little ultrasound tech that's going to rub the little gel on her belly. And, you know, that gel's kind of cold, and that's the only discomfort she'll feel is the fact that she's got cold gel. No, it's a little more than that. It's a lot more than that. And I'll just say this, and I'll say it in closing. If you don't believe in an abortion, don't have one. I'm sorry, but what's the crisis here? Is there some like marauding group of raiders that's going around grabbing pregnant women and yanking out their fetuses? What's going on? And what do you care? Science tells us, number one, and you know the statistics, the rate of abortion in this country is going down, not up. And I'm sorry, you also need to know that there are reasons why people have to have these procedures. And I saw the bill. They're raped, so you want them to call the sheriff? You know how most rapes happen in this country? They happen by people you know, by people the woman knows. Little girls that are often raped are raped by whom? Family members. So, yes, I believe that family member should be punished. But if this little girl and her parents decide that this is the way they're going to deal with this and try to get past this, then so be it. But you want to shame her? Where's the money to help them when they're mentally scarred? Because we don't do that. We just let the mentally disturbed wander around the streets singing quartet with buckets. That's what we do. We don't have any money for medication. What you gonna do? You wanted to ask me a question? Mr. Chairman, Mr. King wants to ask me a question. If you'd please, sir, see fit.
Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing it. In looking at this picture, Mr. McKnight, and the display of the instrument that Representative Bamberg has shown us, and you just mentioned rape, and you're looking at a little 13, 14-year-old girl who may have been raped, to still insert that in her, or even a grown woman that has been raped, I personally would consider that rape again, medically.
Mr. King, we don't care about rape here in South Carolina. You want to know why? Because when we do rape kits, we don't test them.
My next question. Would you be surprised, Representative McKnight, and that on January the 5th of 2021, that Representative Mike Barnes said, we want people to be able to go to their jobs, go to their schools, go about their business and not be mandated to have to do something that they feel is not in the best interest health-wise for themselves. But we believe in freedom and liberty. And you know, government not being involved in your health care. We believe that you should have the freedom to choose. You shouldn't be forced to take that. In other words, it should be a relationship not with the government and the patient, but the patient and the one's doctor, a South Carolina Republican.
It's often do as I say, not do as I do. And you know as well as I do what's going to happen when we pass this, right? The rich folk are still going to continue to have abortions. They're just going to be able to get on the plane and go to New York or go to Maryland or go, someplace and take care of their business. But this is just for poor folk and folk that can't get out of South Carolina. It's always do as I say, not do as I do. Because you can't tell me that all the abortions done in this state are all done by people of color. I love that number that's always thrown out to somehow shame black folks. 1 out of 4 black women have an abortion. And that's those ladies' business. It's not ours. I thought we liked a minimalist form of government. I thought we were more libertarian than that. But no, we want to be big government. We want the abortion police. We want to be standing in the doctor's office the minute a woman goes in there for whatever she wants to go, because God forbid she thinks about doing something where she doesn't have to have a child. I wish we had that same zeal for the children when they got here. Like how to help mothers who don't necessarily know that you need to talk to your children to help them learn when they're 0 to 3, because the more that they hear words, their little brains are firing and developing, and they have a greater ability to learn. You should see the children I see all the time, the ones that can grunt and point, that cannot hear because they suffered from an ear infection as toddlers, and their parents didn't have the wherewithal to go to the doctor to get the ear infection medicine, and as a result, they can't hear, and now they can't learn. But there's no money for them. And then I love it how we just want to cut this and do that, and we want to be fiscally conservative. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us. I know what you're going to do. I just want you to know that I want you to see what it is that you're possibly going to do. And like William Wilberforce, the famous abolitionist, always said, you may choose to look away, much the way that you chose not to look at my posting, but you can never again say, you didn't know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative McKnight.